It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, Goffin, he can hit them, and he does. Goffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Drop me off in Rotherham.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. We have another loss to talk about, but there's a heap load of positives to take from it for the first time in a long time. So hope you'll see some more smiles today than you usually do, I expect. And then we'll talk about QPR and we'll maybe start somewhere else. Let's see who's with us first of all. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. Are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you. And Joy's back. How are you doing, Joy?
I'm fine, thanks. Looking forward to home match this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for with us. We will come on to the Ipswich game in a minute. Let us sort of tick off the Alan Stubbs talk from today. What I've done is that we tweeted out a clip earlier, and I've put the clip. We're going to play the clip for everybody, and the reason is just because some people on here may not have seen social media today and things such as that. So the context is Alan Stubbs has done an interview with a Scouse podcast. I should find the name because I'm going to use their clip. I will find their name, and he was talking about his time at briefly talked about his time at Rotherham United. Surprise, surprise, he didn't speak very highly of us. But there's a particular clip that social media has picked up on, and we're going to play it. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to, I don't know. Right, it's about a minute long. We'll see in a minute.
Afternoon, I was on the way home from training, and he's like, Alan, Lee Gregory, do you want to sign him? And he was as good as what we could afford, and he was probably ideal for what we wanted to do. I went, yeah, if you can do it, great. He said, okay, I'm going to do it. And 2 minutes later, I got a phone call from the chief executive. Alan, we can't do this. This could financially ruin the club. And I'm like, I've got no problem. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, you can't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But I've had the chairman ring me up and say, he's going to do it. So anyway, he said, okay, I'll speak to you tomorrow. So anyway, gone in the following day, not knowing anything from it. And he's gone. So the chief executive, Paul's gone to me. Alan, really sorry about yesterday. He said the chairman was in the golf club, had a few wines with his friends and was giving it the big I am. And he said, but we know we can't do it. And that's what you were dealing with.
Alan Stubbs, everybody. Probably the only time that we'll get Alan Stubbs on the podcast. It's from More Than a Game. It's like a 2.5 hour show that they've done. So if you want a bit more Alan Stubbs, I don't know, but you might want 2 more Alan Stubbs. There is 2.5 hours worth of it. Nathan Crashby, More Than a Game, yeah. I haven't listened to all, but listened to some of it. It looks like a really good interview in general. But then obviously there's the Rotherham United bit. I'll come to you first, Joy. It doesn't look great, that. Now, all we can do is take Stubbs at his word. That's all we can do, because that's what he sort of said. What are your thoughts and feelings towards that part of it?
I mean, I've seen the little bit more than that from that podcast. There's a little bit before that and a little bit afterwards when he's talking about. And the stuff that he raises is stuff that we've all been discussing relatively recently as well. They were raised by Matt Taylor about the training facilities, etc., and comments that have been made across the board from various managers since Alan Stubbs, I would suggest, as well. So I don't think what he said in that is anything new. I don't think we're surprised to hear about Tony's bacchanalian excesses, are we, and what goes on at the golf club. I don't think any of us are surprised about that, to be honest. And let's be honest, it is his club.
True.
I suppose, in one sense, a positive negative you could take from this is that there are checks and balances on Mr. Stewart's excesses. In the form of Mr. Douglas, Ford.
We lost you. You went then.
Yeah, put a shilling in meter that we can't afford to, sign Lee Gregory.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I mean, is it? I mean, I'm asking you guys: are you shocked? In all honesty, are you shocked at anything that was in that? He's not saying anything that we weren't aware of. I mean, this is going back to 2016.
Yeah.
I think the key thing is that things don't appear to have changed much since 2016, and that's probably more the cause for concern than anything else, I would suggest.
Yeah, the Paul Douglas thing is something that people often ask. Sometimes in the comments on Twitter, what does Paul Douglas do? Well, there's one thing that he does. He sort of checks Tony Stewart's mad moments, I would say. You often see, Mick, if a guy's made loads and loads of money, he's going to be a bit eccentric. He's going to do things his own way. There's going to be a bit of arrogance about him, because most millionaires are like that, aren't they? It was... Look, it don't look great. I don't know why Alan Stubbs has waited 8 years to come out with it, to be honest with you. This is the first I've heard of this story, which is I don't really get. But at the same time, he's got no real reason to lie at this point about it. So, I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, I'm not. There's no suggestion that he's lying about it, is there?
No. I don't think so.
There's no suggestion whatsoever. The headline perhaps is crap manager blames crap club for sacking him. It's what's new in any of that? And I'm with Joy. I agree with Joy 100%. And I agree with what you said there as well. He's an eccentric man. Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know. Maybe I should. I'm going to say it anyway. You need to look at the way he dresses. He is an eccentric, and he's every right to be an eccentric because he's worked hard all his life and he's made millions of pounds. Why should anybody begrudge him that? And I don't want to. I'll get criticised for this as well, but he's saved the club. He's brought us back home. He's brought us the stadium and everything else. He's kept us going and he's kept us sustainable. He's not pushed us on. And yes, there are parts of it that are amateurish in terms of the football league or the way a football club is run. But there's someone, at least one person, probably more now with Andy Scott in the position that he's in. Rob Scott, sorry, keeping him in check. And it's quite clear that Tony Stewart respects those people and listens to those people. And those are the people, Paul Douglas particularly, over the last few years, are probably ones that have kept us on the straight and narrow. Not had us spending stupid money on players like Lee Gregory, for God's sake. Because that would have been stupid money on a bang average player. So, yeah, like I said, headline is crap manager calls out club that sacked him. Wow. Yeah.
The main issue is that we seem to be in a similar situation now. There's similar stories pop up occasionally. What I would say to kind of defend the club is that what seems to have happened is there's been a man put in place to do the football side of things, Rob Scott. So this shouldn't happen in future where you get the chairman ringing up and saying, I'm going to sign this guy, because Rob Scott's in that position. We've all been asking for change, or we've all been suggesting change. Some people have been demanding change. We now have that change, and it's only happened a month or 2 or 3 ago. So what I would say to anybody that's sort of kicking off saying that we haven't changed, well, let's see if this change works, because this is what we've asked for. And then if we're still getting the same kind of situation a year later, then there's obviously more questions to ask. But I think the promotion of Rob Scott to director of football is a change we've all been suggesting and asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's wait and see. It don't look good, but that's where we are, I suppose.
I don't agree with that, Matt. It don't look anything for me.
Well, it don't look good. But to sum up what Alan Stubbs has said, Alan Stubbs is saying that a bloke rang him up who had a few beers and were a bit drunk and said he's going to sign this guy even though he couldn't afford to do it. That don't look good if you frame it like that, which is how Alan Stubbs has tried to frame it.
Yeah, because it benefits him, doesn't it?
I think another issue is this. Talking about Tony Stewart making these decisions. Yes, I agree. He's an eccentric. He has saved the club. He's put a lot of money in there. But he does have his excesses. I mean, after the Leeds game, that interview make us look a bit foolish, didn't it? And this is a theme, isn't it? It's a continuation of that theme. So, I mean, he obviously is a hail fellow, well met type of guy. And he likes that sort of thing, and the golfing aspect of it and the social side of it. I have heard similar stories as well about him when from away matches, and how he's got his big cigar and his glass of red wine. That's not something. I mean, I've heard that on more than one occasion from various people who are not Rotherham supporters, but are supporters of other clubs. And I said, "Oh, I met your chairman in hospitality. Oh, he's a cracking fellow, isn't he? Yeah." And he comes across as a very avuncular chap, that people seem to like in that sort of social environment, but it doesn't necessarily always follow when you're in your cups that you need to be making decisions about signing football players. And like you say, Rob Scott's very late role as a director of football can hopefully only be a positive in the checks and balances on Mr. Stewart's likely or possible excesses going forward.
Yeah, agree. Matt Mills, that's why we're discussing this irrelevance.
Good point.
It seems, well, it's about our club, isn't it? We're a podcast about Rotherham United. It's about Rotherham United. We've got to cover these kind of things. So Sarah said, based on what I've heard recently, she's not surprised at it at all. Shell Stud. I think we've had enough Alan Stubbs.
I think so.
Harry said, the thing is that I didn't like, he said he was relieved when he was sacked, which says something when you're joint worst manager in this. So yeah, Alan Stubbs, if you listen to the full Alan Stubbs, it doesn't come out of it great. He didn't do his research before agreeing to join a club when he knew he should have known what the training ground was like. He complained about the training facilities, which we all know, but he complained about them, but then still joined the club. Alan Stubbs doesn't come out of it any better than anybody else, but that's where we are. But yeah, it's on there. As I mentioned, if you want to go watch it a bit more, let me get the name of the podcast again because I forgot already. More Than a Game. It's just on YouTube. If you go 2 hours 25 in, after you've watched this podcast, obviously. 2 hours 25.
The only thing I would say to supporters is you can't go on social media and call Alan Stubbs for being the worst manager we've ever had, compare the worst performances we've ever done, or the bad performances we put in to the Alan Stubbs era, and then start using Alan Stubbs as a weapon against the chairman now. You can't do that. That's not allowed because that makes sense. Just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, football. Let's talk about football because there was a brilliant game on Tuesday night, an absolutely brilliant game. It was just a bit of chaos, Joe. We'll talk about the specifics in a minute, but it was just chaos. And it's kind of, again, something we've been asking for, that if we're going to lose, let's just go and have some fun. Let's just make it a bit mad. Yeah, we might concede 4, but we're going to win some of these games. And I was gutted, obviously, at the end, but I was really, really happy and really satisfied with the performance and how it went, to be honest with you.
Couldn't agree more. It's like I've got my Rotherham United back. And, I watched it and I was smiling. Like, at the end, it was like gutting, but typically Rotherham United, wasn't it? Let's be honest. And we did play some good football, and they were running scared. They were scared in that second half. I mean, I think probably that's the best 45 minutes we put together all season, I would argue. And it was fun. I mean, and I've said previously, I mean, I've thought for the past 3-4 weeks since Huddersfield won and pulled away that, the big R word is likely to be happening come May. But in the meantime, let's have some pride, let's have some passion, and let's have some fun in the remaining games. And we've not had that until Tuesday night, and then only 45 minutes of it. But the lads were let off the leash and they did well. The other thing as well, I think what is interesting is we're starting to be more of a cohesive unit. Now the missing players are coming back, I would argue as well. That they're having a big impact, I would imagine, on the team, because the team seems refreshed, rejuvenated, and there's some passion there. And it was fun to watch, if not gutting.
Yeah, it was impressive because from the start, that the first goal comes from the press, and that press was brutal. It wasn't just a press; it was press on their goal line. It was literally on the bar, not the bar line. What's it called?
Goal line.
Is it called the goal line when it's not in the goal?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's on outside the 18-yard box, wasn't it? The circle.
Yeah. But that's what you do. And their keeper had a stinker. We'll maybe come on to that in a minute. Their keeper had an absolute stinker, but. It's what we've been asking for. We've been asking for a press for about 18 months. That was a proper press from minute one.
Yeah, it was, and Ipswich have been flying high all season. Been flying high all season with a young, positive manager who likes to play out from the back, and we proved to them that they're not good enough to do it. And I keep saying it time and time again. You know, very few clubs in this division are good enough to do it consistently for 90 minutes. They weren't good enough to do it for 15 out of the 90 minutes. You know, so that's what we want. Please. If we could play like that, if we could set up like that for the rest of this season, then we're going to bloody some noses, because it was very, very, very good. Bar 20 minutes where we had a bit of a brain fart, as you said, as you the phrase you used, I think, whenever it was in one post match, and we did. With the exception of that, we were the better side. We were the better side, particularly that second half. So. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and like Joyce said, obviously the last 2 minutes were gutting, but it was very typical of Rotherham United of this season. Unlike the performance, which wasn't.
Yeah, that's right. It started with Toyugle and Eves up top, which shocked everybody, I think. But Tom Eves, his goals to minutes ratio must be one of the best in the division. That's 3 goals now in I don't know how many minutes, not many. And it was a really calm, cool finish. You don't necessarily associate that kind of finish with Tom Eves, but it was really cool, a really cool, nice finish.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of stroked it into the far corner, didn't he? It was well placed, and the build up to it was really good as well. Like you said, the press would run the ball back straight out, and then Hugill, wasn't it, that set him up? Was Hugill, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Trying to think. Anyway.
Lucas,
I know. I was like, in 2 minutes, I'd not even sort of sat down and started really watching it. Like, whoa, what happened there?
Lucas,
it's a bit
Lucas, yes,
ball out of the blue. I mean, like within 10 minutes, normal service was resumed. But for that short, for that first 10 minutes or so, it's like, oh, the shock of it for one thing.
Yeah.
But like we said, normal service was resumed. But we did, it was a pleasure to see my team back, see my Rotherham United playing like my Rotherham United. And I felt actually like a supporter again, rather than somebody who sat there whinging, waiting for the inevitable to happen. Yeah, I know it did happen, but what happened in between was positive. And like you say, Mick, if we can carry on like that, we are going to bloody some noses. And let's be honest, the teams that we've got to play coming up are in the bottom half rather than the top half. Having said that, we seem to play better against the top half.
Yeah.
As perverse as it may seem, but let's see what happens. And use that as the template going forward.
100%. The Ipswich Town fan says, first half, they should have been out of the sight, and it was a total reverse in the second half. Yeah, he says, yes, we definitely deserve something. It was a relief that they won. Shows that when you're 3-1 up, the game is never over, even against bottom of the league. I would add to that. We've got some comments. Phil says, brilliant 45 minutes. Henry Hammer says, it was a proper game of football. Yeah, it was. We will come on to the defending. Nathan said, we played well apart from the poor defending, which we will talk about. Yeah, those few minutes, Mick, they were lovely. When we were winning away at Ipswich for like 8 minutes or whatever it was. And we weren't bad until the actual first goal. We weren't that bad. It's not like we were conceding shots left, right, and centre, and then they scored. When they scored, it then got silly. But up until the goal, we were all right for that very brief period of time.
Yeah, and we conceded because of poor team selection, didn't we? I think ultimately, you've got Peltz on playing left back, left wing back. Just madness, absolute madness when you've got a team that's got the pace that Ipswich has got, particularly down there right hand side. I think Liam Richardson got that wrong, and he put that right, bringing Sariki on and moving Kioso across there, but it was too late by then. Had he started that way, then it might have been a different matter altogether. But we got no pace down that side, and Peltz was always going to get hammered. And I'm disappointed that Liam Richardson didn't see that really from the start. Even if you just swap Peltz and Cam Humphreys over, to give us that little bit of pace on that left, because Cam Humphreys would have been able to do a much better job than Peltz was able to do. And that's not a criticism of Lee Peltier in any way. You know, he's a 30-odd-year-old bloke. He's not going to have. You know, I'm sure he's never been a particularly pacey centre half. So yeah, that side of it was disappointing. And had he just spotted that earlier, I think possibly the result might have been different.
Mm. Yeah, let's talk about the mad time, Joy. The first goal was a bit sloppy, but then the next two. Well, the first one was the one where they were claiming for offside, even though, was it Hacks or Kyoto were like 3 yards behind them.
Yeah.
It showed Chuck Lucas in at left wing back, and obviously Pelt's left to centre with 3. There were times of that game where it looked like they'd never played together in that 20-minute period or whatever it was, and that first goal just sort of summed it up that nobody kind of knew where they were, and it was just a complete mess, that first goal. Well, they all were, but especially the first one.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, I mean, the defending was, well, it's to say it was schoolboy defending is not fair on schoolboys. But I agree with Mick, you know, we you know, you put in a 37, 38-year-old guy on the right against young, speedy, pacey front wingers, and he'd no chance. You know, they were inside out of him before, you know, you could even turn round. And like you say, Liam Richardson didn't pick up on that quick enough, did he?
No.
I mean, and like it was bang, bang. What was it? 2-3 minutes between the goals.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah, and then obviously we calmed down a little bit in the run up, and then literally just before half time we get the third goal going in, and that just, to me, that was the killer. Thinking, you know, let me just deflate my balloons after such an auspicious start. But I mean, it was just typical of the way we've played this season. We have these like 10-minute spells where we're quite good, very good in some cases, and then 20 minutes when we're absolutely abysmal. And I think Liam Richardson has developed our defensive capabilities somewhat since Matt Taylor left, to be honest. We don't seem to be as wide open, but we were. But then again, are we doing a disservice to Ipswich and the fact that they are in quite a lofty position? They wouldn't be in that position if they couldn't unpick defences like, well, we just left the doors open, but if they didn't have the skill to unpick defences anyway. So it's a bit of a moot point in one sense. They would have expected, I would imagine, to be 3-1 up at half time, given the respective positions. And I suspect anybody on the outside looking in would not have been surprised to see a 3-1 half-time score in that game, including myself, to be honest.
Yeah. Shelley says, the problem is, why has the performance come now? That's the most baffling part. Liam Richardson hasn't bothered until Tuesday. We've been crying out for that performance. My only defence would be that Liam Richardson's still learning about these players. That's the only defence that I can put towards it, and sort of saying he's still learning what they can do, what they can't do. He's close in a weakness in Ipswich, where if you press them, they struggle, and he nailed it. If that was Liam Richardson picking out their weakness, he's nailed that because they struggled all game long. Again, that's me just trying to defend him a little bit. Go on, Mick.
Well, the argument would be that just about every single team in this division's weakness is playing out from the back, and it is.
True.
It is, with the exception of probably Leicester. Even Leeds are susceptible to it. You know, none of them. I'm not going to keep saying it because I say it every podcast, don't I? But yeah, that is a weakness. But it's a weakness for everybody. So I'm with Shelley there. I'm disappointed that it's taken this long for that sort of performance to come. Had that performance been in, and we've been doing that since Christmas, then we would not be in the position that we're in now. End of. We may have conceded more goals, but we'd have scored a hell of a lot more as well, for me. So, yeah.
Second goal comes from Kiefer Moore back at Ipswich, Mick. This comes from Jordan Hugill on the edge of the box. And this is not the first time that he's done this, Jordan Hugill. One of Jordan Hugill's weaknesses is when he gets the ball, he can't offload it quick enough. And this has always been a problem of his while he's been at the club. And the worst place you can fail to offload it is on the 18-yard box against a team like Ipswich Town with Kiefer Moore breathing down your neck. Yeah. And it's just basic stuff. It's a bit like Ollie Rathbone against Hull. It's just get rid of it. You don't know who's behind you because he's got his back faced almost to the rest of the pitch. just play it safe, and he didn't, and he's done it again.
I think you used the wrong word there. You said he can't offload it quick enough. He doesn't offload it quick enough. He can. Sometimes he does, but most of the time he doesn't. And that's wherever it is on the pitch. That if I'm a coach, I'm working on that with Jordan Hugill. Get it in, control, give, and he doesn't. He controls it and he hangs on to it. And that is an issue for Jordan Hugill. And wherever he is on the pitch, particularly when he's around any 18-yard box, So yeah, you're right. But I'd weighed somebody out on that left-hand side. That ball wouldn't have come in for keeper Moore to slot it home. So yeah, can you do? You're not going to. I mean, if you're going to put a ball, if you're going to allow teams to put a ball across 6-yard box when they've got Kiefer Moore up front, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, of course
you're asking for trouble because he's going to bang 8 or 9 out of 10 of them in back at net. So
yeah. And then the third one, Joy, almost feels the most shambolic of the lot. The first time Kyoto's made a mistake for us, to be fair, so it cut him a bit of slack there, but. I think we got the goals. So this is the one where the offside was crazy. That were not in line, and the ball comes in. Kyoso makes a mistake, but then the shot comes in. Victor's clawing at it, doing the only one trying to keep the ball out, and I think Tihi's second to react are on around the penalty spot. It's just like you mentioned earlier, schoolboy. It's just schoolboy defending. It's not just one piece of schoolboy defending. It was like 3 or 4 bits of schoolboy defending, and you just can't get away with that kind of thing at this level.
No, you can't. And like I said earlier, it's the sort of typical goal that we've been letting in. It's not just one person not picking up or not responding quickly enough, clearing the lines. It's the second person and sometimes the third and fourth person.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what that is. I don't know what they do in training, about reflexes and tactics and awareness, but we obviously seem to be a yard behind everybody else in our thinking. In some case, you'd be chucking your body online, wouldn't you? Apart from Victor being the last defence. No wonder he's the best keeper in the division. He's had to be, he's had to be, and he's still let the most goals in. So how do you qualify that? And you do feel sorry for Victor, but the defence I think has improved from Taylor's tenure, but I think there's an issue as well, as we've talked about previously, about mentality and psychology as well. And I think the guys, obviously your heads go down when something like that happens and you go in, and particularly as it was quite close to half time and you're going in at 3-1 instead of 2-1. I mean, I don't know what he said at half time, but I would like him to bottle that and reel it out at the beginning and at half time for every match between now and the end of the season, to be brutally honest, because it worked. And I don't know what the answer is. Again, like you said, Kyoso, we can't fault him because since he's come back into the team, he's not put many feet wrong, has he?
Yeah.
So, but then there should be another 3 or 4 guys behind him to pick it up, that slack, and that second person just never seems to be there, do they? Or the third person never seems to be there.
I agree. Before we finish on the first half, Michael Carnell says, "Can I just get off his chest how the Ipswich player didn't get a booking for what he did to Ollie, and not even a talking to, but we get 2 yellow cards for pushing in the back." Yeah, this was Saliamento, I think, barging Ollie into the advertising boards. There's something needs to be done about this, Mick, because this is a serious problem that is incredibly dangerous. I think it's only last season there was that non-league player at Bath, who fractured his skull when somebody got pushed into the metal. I suspect advertising boards are a bit safer than the metal bars, but this is a problem. It's not an endemic problem in football, but it's a serious problem because that could have been really, really nasty for Ollie, and it looks like nothing, but it isn't, because whilst he's kicking the ball away, he's off balance. And he gets a further push, which puts him further off balance. So he can't protect himself. So he smashes his head into a plastic wall. It's at least a book in that. At least.
And 9 times out of 10 it is. 9 times out of 10, those bookings are given. I have no comprehension, no understanding why that's not a booking. I don't know. I can't answer that because it is for the very, very reasons you've just said there. He's off balance. I don't think he's even on the floor. I'm not convinced his feet, either of his feet are on the floor when contact's made with him. And the players made no effort to go to the ball. It's not a particularly nasty push, but it doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be given the situation that Ollie Rathbone's in. So I have no understanding. Well, I do understand why it's not a booking. It's Keith Stroud, isn't it? So that's why it's not a booking. No, I mean it is. So he's so inconsistent and unpredictable with his decision making, and I don't know. I can't tell you why it's not a booking. It is, should be 100%. Other way, 100% it's a booking.
Yeah, I just like to see a bit more police just more strongly in general. If you're pushing somebody off the pitch into the crowd, you can injure the crowd potentially.
Yeah.
There's other things, Joy, for me that need to be looked. Again, this has only happened once every so often, so it's not on the top of the list. Blue cards and stuff like that are clearly more important. But for me, it is very dangerous, that kind of thing. Very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and like Mick said, 9 times out of 10 that would be a yellow card. And what do we always boil this down to when we talk about refereeing? It's the lack of consistency in whatever decision making a referee is making. You see it in some games, like you say, yellow card, not yellow card, penalty, not penalty, handball, not handball. Nobody knows what's happening, do they? Because of the lack of consistency and the lack of decision making or poor decision making. And then that falls back on the PGMOL, doesn't it? And Howard and his little band of fellows in the refereeing officialdom to get a handle on it. It's not good enough. Not at our level, and it's from my understanding, it's even worse at the lower levels. And I watch non-league, and it's and what happens in the league is then replicated lower down into grassroots, and it's not good. And it doesn't encourage people to want to become referees either, does it? And we've got a dearth of referees as well, so it's not going to encourage people to take up that role.
No, it's not. Ironically, Keith Stroud did a YouTube video a few weeks ago with PGMOL saying that he thinks he could be a good example for young referees coming through the system because he's refereed so many games. Didn't think that was a clever video for him to put out, but anyway, let's move on. That's not the last you'll hear of Keith Stroud tonight.
Say, it's not quantity, is it, Keith? It's quality we need.
Yeah. But yeah, poor. I don't whether it's Keith or the general rules. I don't like that. I didn't like it. I don't like it.
It's the general rules because the referees have been asked to make a decision based on their own opinion or their own interpretation of something, and so everybody's going to have a different interpretation. So every time, how are you going to get consistency? You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We've got 2 more goals to talk about. 3 more goals to talk about. The good thing about not the good thing, but what that injury to Ollie caused, Mick, was it caused the change in formation. It meant Lucas came into the centre of the pitch, Sarika came on, and Kiosk went over to the left. Now, with the hindsight glasses on, that's how we should have started because it worked an absolute treat. But that's the reason we were able to gain a foothold in the second half because Kiosk is a very good defender, whether it's left or right foot. He seems very good defensively. Sarika seems very, very solid. But it also allows an extra man in the midfield, not extra man, but a man in the midfield who can put the foot on the ball and run around it as Lucas did. It was as good a 45 minutes, we said a few minutes ago, as good a 45 minutes as we've seen probably all season from us. We were all over them from 45 to 93 when Cafu scored. Yeah,
100%. It was the best performance, best 45 minutes of the season. There's no doubt about it. And to be fair, I don't think we particularly stepped up again. Obviously, I mean, Ipswich took the foot off the gas and made us look brilliant. I would imagine that is what some people will say, but they didn't take the foot off the gas because they never got ball. So we were excellent. We were excellent. We were solid in the press. We won every ball, every header, virtually every second ball. They didn't get a look in. They didn't get a sniff for long periods of that second half. And I don't understand why we've not played like that more this season. I'm really struggling with it. Like Shelley said earlier on, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but the players could see that they can do it against a top side in this division, away from home. They can absolutely batter them for 40 out of the 45 minutes of that second half. You know, if you watch that, if you take that second half in isolation and don't know where each team is in the division, then we're sitting third and they're sitting bottom. You know, if you had to make that choice, you were told one's third, one's bottom, which one's which. You know, so yeah, it was excellent. Really pleased with it. Really, really happy with it.
Nick says we were mid-table if we put that performance in every week, but it's too late. Yeah, it is. The coach says the pressure's off now, kind of with Will accepting where he is, that improved performances, which is possibly true as well. Let's move on to the goal that makes it 3-2, Joy. This kind of summed up their keeper's night, to be honest with you. I thought it was a stinker all game. And I watched it a few times, still ain't got a clue what he thinks he's doing. But all praise on Hacks. He's nice and cool and calm. And I've seen better players than a Dauphin lose the head a little bit and shank it wide, shank it over or whatever. Hacks just stayed calm, took his chance, and put us back in the game.
Well, I mean, he's done that on a few occasions, hasn't he? From that sort of, distance as well. It's at the edge of the 18-yard box, wasn't it? I can't remember. It's just in or out. But I mean, he struck it well. I mean, and like you say, if you don't take your chance, you don't, buy a ticket for the lottery, you don't win. And by doing that, the goalkeeper's got to make a save. Unfortunately, he didn't. Or fortunately, he didn't for us. And whether it's goalkeeper error, or whether you could argue, there was a bit of pace on it from Max, I don't know. But it certainly put us back in the game and relatively early in that second half, enough for us to continue and put in. And when that went in, I knew we would get to 3-3. And that's the first time I've felt that this season.
Yeah.
I really did feel, because we were so much on the front foot, we were playing so well, we were playing as a team, not a group of individuals. It seemed that everybody was on the same page, and they were pressing forward, and Ipswich didn't have an answer to it. And I thought, we're going to get a goal. And I was surprised, actually, it took as long as it did for us to get that third goal, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we had we had a few opportunities before we had the penalty. We got a penalty. OMG. I'm from Keith Stroud, of all people.
Yeah.
So, I was surprised it took that long for us actually to get the third, because I think if we'd have got it, maybe 5-10 minutes earlier, I think we would have possibly gone on and won the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. A Doffin's now leading scorer this season. He's played most of the season at centre half, but has still found himself at the top of the list. There's quite a few on 3. We tweeted out the other day, but yeah, the Golden Boot race is warming up finally. Let's skip ahead, Mick, to the penalty incident. We got a penalty, like Joy says. Not only did we get a penalty for the first time in the season, we got a penalty from Keith Stroud. And not only did Keith Stroud give us a penalty, it was a pretty soft foul, pretty soft penalty, I thought. If that's given the other way, let me put it this way. I'm yet to see an angle that convinces me that is 100% a penalty. It might be, but the angles I've seen don't convince me either way. In my head, if you're going to get a penalty at 93rd minute, you have got to be certain that that's a penalty. And I'm not convinced I wasn't certain anyway.
It's not a penalty, is it?
No,
I mean, if anything gets the ball, so it's not a penalty. There's no doubt in my mind anyway. Listen, you can't see what the referee can see from the angle that the referee can see it. So, I have no issue with it being given. I probably would have an issue if it were given against us, just for obvious reasons. It's given against us, but in reality, it's not a penalty. So all we need now is 4 more penalties that aren't penalties, and 4 players sending off for the opposition that aren't sending off for the rest of the season, and then I'll start to believe it evens itself out. But no, listen, I have no complaints about the referee giving it. I wouldn't have, I suppose, because he's giving it to us, but I don't think it's a penalty now.
No. Michael Connell said he kicked him. Joy, did you think, again, there's not been many, I've seen two angles, So it's difficult to say. What did you think? Should it have been given?
I've seen them given, like you say, I think it was soft. But I must admit, when I was watching it in real time play at the time that it happened, I said penalty straight off. In real time, as the match was happening, as that tackle went in, I said penalty. It's like anything else. Obviously, once we get the second and third and this angle and that angle and we dissect it, we can then say it's a soft penalty or it's not a penalty. But at the time in the match itself, I said penalty. And as I said that was coming out of my mouth, Mr. Stroud pointed to the spot and I had a heart attack. Because, we've had more nailed on penalties than that.
Oh, yeah.
That have not been given this season. So, and some penalties that have been given against us have been equally as soft as that one that was given on Tuesday. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
I'll accept it.
It'll split opinion. It struck me of Mr. Stroud wanting to be centre of attention, to be honest. But finally, Mr. Stroud being centre of attention benefited us for the once. And then came the penalty, Mick. 93 minutes on the clock. You're bottom of the league. And Caffrey goes, do you know what? I'm going to Panenka this. And I was sat watching on. I was stood up watching the penalty. And I said, I don't trust him to take this penalty. I do not trust Cafu taking this penalty. And I still do. I wouldn't trust him taking another one, mate, because they're just a bottle. I just can't get my head around it. I just don't know. I loved it. I loved it and hated it at the same time.
I definitely thought that when I watched it from the standard view. But when you watch it from the behind the goal view, you can see the goalkeeper's gone. He's already gone. So it was quite a safe penalty in the end, as it turned out. When you're looking at it from the player who's taking its position, the only thing he's got to do is strike it with enough power just to lift it a little bit, which is a professional footballer. He should be able to do that with his eyes shut. But the goalkeeper had already committed. But yeah, I mean, just at the time you think, oh my God, what is he carrying in them shorts? Because they must be massive.
Yeah. Nick says he's run up, nailed it because he genuinely looked like he was going to smash it. Yeah, he did. Cafu he just played into that Portuguese stereotype, Joy. That's just typical of that. I think a guy called Cafu from Portugal would take a penalty like. I think. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it was him all over, wasn't it? If anybody was going to do it, have we ever scored a Panenka penalty? Do you reckon?
I don't think so. That's the first one I can remember.
No, I was thinking about it myself. I don't think our Rotherham players ever scored a Panenka penalty. And like you said, Mick, I thought exactly the same. He's got some big ones there to do that in the 93rd minute. But it worked for all of 3 minutes. But it worked. And
it did.
Like you guys, I was like chuckling to myself afterwards. Thinking, who else would have taken it though if Cafu hadn't have taken it? I was trying to think.
I'd assume Nombe. That'd have been my guess, but
this isn't Rathbone being our penalty taker recently.
Clucas.
It's had one, Joyce. I don't know.
Yeah, had one, haven't we? We don't know. Last year was it Rathbone took some, didn't it?
I don't know. We have to look into that. I'm not sure. What do we have last year? No, Hugo took them. Hugo took them, didn't he? Against West Brom and QPR, I think. Bristol City. Josh Creswell thinks Barlas vs Oxford was potentially a Panenka. Let us know if it was, everybody, because we can't. I don't remember that. But yeah, for those how many minutes, Mick? Like 2 minutes. We scored a 94. They scored a 95, so less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Somebody put in the comments a minute ago that we changed and we went for it. It wasn't, and that's maybe something what the players should have done. They took the penalty and then went back off to kick off again. I just wish that it took a minute and just go celebrate in front of fans. You've brought it back to 3-3 against Ipswich. take a minute, go and enjoy that minute with the fans, 150 legends that went.
Yeah,
go and enjoy it. Take the sting out of it from Ipswich's point of view, and then because we could have still set it back up, we were in the ascendancy at that point. I think we rushed it, and I think that probably played into Ipswich's hands.
Yeah, it probably did. It probably did. I think. I mean, we were still going to go for it. I think we were going for it, you know. So it's gutting. It's disappointing, but on the flip side of that, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. We need 3 points. Points no good to us. No points are no good to us. You know, a point's as good as none, essentially, as we stand at the moment. So go for it. Yeah, just go for it. And if what happens, then so be it. And looking back at it now, so be it. You know, I don't feel any worse than I would have done, or marginally worse than I would have done with a point. But 3 would have been a ridiculous result. So I have no issue with them doing that. And all right, we could have defended it better. Good finish, I suppose. But we should have defended it better. But we were all about attack. That's all we got in our minds. So it's disappointing, but overall, hugely positive evening.
Yeah, we were all gutted, Joe. And I think it's circumstance. You know, if we were a point adrift of survival and that would have happened, I think we'd have all been devastated. I think devastation would have been the word. I just think we're all gutted and we're all not happy we lost the game. But we need it, like Mick says, if we're going to do anything, we need to win anyway. So I can absolutely forgive a bit of lax defending if you're going to play like that for the rest of the half, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I just thought we got a bit giddy, to be honest, because we'd come back from 3-1 down. When have we done that? And we played so well on the front foot. And it is what it is, as they say. A point would have been nice, but like you say, that's no use nor ornament in the situation that we find ourselves in. But as we're focusing on here, the performance, that's what we've got to take away from that, is the performance. Gutting as it was, the performance in that second half was far and away the best thing. I felt happy to be called Joy on Tuesday, as opposed to wanting to change my name to Mona, as I have done for the majority of this season. So, what can I say? We're going into QPR and we're going to get battered, aren't we now?
Mr. Ipswich Town says, happy we got 3 points. I thought the keeper had a very poor position for the fourth goal. He was central, no offence. Having watched this back, I got a message from a couple of a Wednesday fan and a Leeds fan sort of questioning Victor. And if you watch it back, and we're always going to defend Victor. Not that he needs it, but we're always going to defend Victor. The shots come from behind, I think, a Dolphin, and it's then come through the legs of a Dolphin. I think he sees it so late. I know what Mr. Ipswich Town is saying. It's sort of a near post, and as the saying goes, you should never get beaten by a near post. But I don't think it's as simple as that because of the obstruction eye line and through the legs. Mick.
Yeah, arguably. I mean, every goalkeeper will think he should stop every goal, shouldn't he? You know, and I'm sure Victor will be kicking himself for that. So will the defence, you know. But I think Joy was right at the start of this when we talked about this Ipswich goal. We needed to take the sting out of the game. We just needed to just calm it down. But we weren't going to do that. We'd no intention of doing that because we as supporters were thinking, hang on, there's 3 minutes left here, 4 minutes left. We could win this. And I think the players were in the same view. So you could always argue that the goalkeeper could do better. I've not watched it back, if I'm honest. But we got to go for it. We have to go for it. We've got no choice. You know, the possibilities of us staying up are somewhere between absolutely none at all and bugger all. You know, so even if the slimmest of slimmest opportunities presents itself to get 3 points on the board, then we've got to be taking it. And I don't even think it was a slim opportunity. There was an opportunity to do it. So I'm not gonna moan about that goal much as I was very, very disappointed by it at the time.
Mr. Ipswich Town says, loves the podcast, definitely got another subscriber. Thank you, Mr. Ipswich Town. That's another non-Rotherham fan we've got. Love to have you on board. Thank you very much. Gaza says, thought he could have hatched closed him down. Allowed him a little bit of space. I think all 4 goals are avoidable. But then maybe it was just saying about our three that they're avoidable as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so let's talk about a couple of individual performances. Joy, is there anybody else you want to pick out? I'm going to pick out some issues potentially in a minute, but is there a one man that sort of stood out head and shoulders above the rest, or was it just good everybody or most?
Well, I think everybody deserved a pat on the back. I thought Hacks had his usual high standard game. I thought Peter Kay, as I call him, apart from his one aberration, had a good game. That second half, there wasn't anybody who didn't, put their stamp on it, including Cafu's Panenka. So I was happy. Team performance.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't want to put. It's a negative, Mick. I don't know. But we have the WhatsApp group. I think Mick may know how I'm going to complain about it now. I'm really struggling with Hugo at the minute. I'm really, really, really struggling with Hugo at the minute. I thought at times he's ignoring the goal that he cost us, because that's not enough. I thought Eves outworked him tenfold. I thought Nombe and White, when they came out, outworked him tenfold. I don't know what he brought us on that game. We've seen him enough to know that certain games really suit him. But at the minute, Hugo's not bringing us anything on a positive step. And we were so much better when Nombe and White came on for Eves. And that's not a dig at Eves. I thought Eves was pretty good. But I'm just really struggling with Hugo at the minute. I'm struggling to find a positive point to say he did this quite well. I think it was the only one that had a really poor game. Really poor game.
Yeah, it concerns me. It concerns me because he's got some qualities. You know, he can score a goal and gets himself into decent positions, and or has done in the past. And you know, you say we know what sort of games he's going to play well in. He's an ex-Norwich player playing away at Ipswich who are flying high. What more would you want? You know, so and he just surely that would have fired him up. No, it didn't. He's been hugely disappointing this season as John Hugo. Hugely disappointing. I don't know whether he's disappointed in himself or whether he's just seeing his time out. I don't know. It feels like he's seeing his time out. I hope that's not the case. He doesn't come across as being committed to the cause, you know. And much as Tom Eves has his limitations, there's no doubt about that. He's committed, you know. Some of his pressing on Tuesday night was at the top drawer as far as from our level. He was quick, he was pacey, he put their defenders under all sorts of trouble, particularly in the press particularly. So Hugo's not quick enough to do that. He doesn't have the pace. He's still trying to win free kicks, despite the fact we're now 2/3 of the way through the season, and I don't think he's won one yet all season. He probably has. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. You know, I'm really disappointed in him. Hugely disappointed in his performances, the levels of his performances. That's what disappoints me the most. Just it comes across as though he's not bothered, and we can't afford that. We cannot afford that. Not when you've got players like Tom Eves on the bench who will put the work in. Sam Nombe, who will put the work in, Charlie White, who will put the work in. They should be ahead of him every time.
Yeah, Gazawaza says Hugo should be fourth choice for him at the minute. Do you agree with that, Joy?
Yeah, I do. I think Eves, since the turn of the new year, has been really consistent when he's played, and he puts the effort in. Whether he achieves the outcomes for the amount of effort he puts in, that's a different matter. But compared to Hugo, who just seems to throw himself to the floor every 2 minutes and lumber around in the rest of the time, and like we've touched on before, joking aside, that his layoff of the ball is not quick enough. There's many opportunities we've missed of going forward because his layoff is poor. He needs that extra touch, or he goes inside or outside when he needs to be laying it off, and even if it's just back, and he loses possession too frequently for me.
Yeah, agreed. Andrew Lang says Hugo has another 2 seasons contract. I think he signed a 3.5-year deal last January, so there is 2 years left. But you never know, when we go down and things like that, there's always possibilities of release clauses and things like that. We obviously don't know the details of his contract right, so I should pick up, somebody asked about the concussion substitutions. Michael Connell, sorry guys, but just enlighten us why Ipswich can have a sixth sub for concussion, but still made the player 5-10 minutes. So because Ollie came off as a concussion sub, that allows both teams to have 6 subs. So we can't have 6 subs and not let them have 6 subs. That makes sense, Mick? You look confused.
No, it doesn't make sense. No.
So if a guy comes off a concussion, you get an extra.
I'm not saying it's not the rule. I'm just saying that the rule don't make sense.
Well, you got an advantage, then, haven't you? You got an advantage by making an extra change.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have had concussion if their player hadn't pushed him into advertising audience. So how come they get to benefit from it? I'm only asking.
We got it when Daniel Allen knocked out Rick Hardy at Plymouth. We would have been allowed, had we had enough players to bring 6 on, we would have been allowed 6 substitutes.
I don't like that, but anyway, whatever. It's not relevant, is it?
Them's the rules. A few people mentioned we're probably a bit long tonight because we've taught a lot to cover. But a few people mentioned Rinna Motorjoy. He's been brilliant, and I don't know if you can convince him to come to League One, but he is. He looks better than everybody else at the minute. Well, better than most midfielders. Better than Teehee. Klukas was probably better than him, but Rinna Motor's been excellent last 2 games. Yeah,
I agree. He seems to have fitted in really well, and he's quite a big unit as well, isn't he? He's not a small guy, and he can get around the pitch as well, which is another bonus. So, hats off to our new director of football stroke recruitment guy for identifying him. But apparently, we were after him in the summer, weren't we? So I was led to believe. It's a shame we didn't get him in the summer because he has.
He screams Rotherham United player to me. Yeah. He screams Rotherham. He's just in our mould, isn't
he? Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. 4-3, we lost. But I think we're not happy that we've lost. There is, trying to get another stick to beat us with. We're not happy we've lost, but we're happy with the performance. Happy with the step forward that we've all taken. A few people asking about the concussion rule. Doesn't the concussion have to be taken at the same time? No, it's just an extra sub. They don't get an extra occasion, but they get that one. Nathan Curry says, I think that's why I've signed him for next season. If you can get him in League One, I tell you what, he'll have a lovely little season in League One, won't he? He'll tear it up. It'll be great. Yeah.
I thought Sariki had a decent game. Thought he played really well when he came on.
He was sensible, weren't he? You often see young kids going to be reckless, a bit daft. It looked like he had his head screwed on. He knew not to go daft. I thought he managed his own opponents really well.
Yeah. Just to reply to Mike there. That's not what I said. That is not what I said. Clearly, there needs to be a substitution for concussions. Clearly, it needs to be dealt with. What I'm saying is the other side shouldn't get an extra substitution based on another side having to take somebody off for concussion. It's absolutely right, and it's dealt with properly. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I don't see why it gifts an extra substitution to the other team. That's wrong, in my view.
There you go. Well done, Mick.
Just saying.
Mick vs. Mike.
I don't explain myself properly sometimes. Maybe I don't know.
No. Anything else from the Ipswich game? We sort of briefly preview the QPR game. Anything else we need to touch from the Ipswich game? There's a lot happened in that game. Anything else we've missed? I think we've covered everything. All 7 goals. 7 goals, a Penenka penalty included, and a penalty for us. Brill. Right, so it leaves us massively adrift at the bottom. Don't change our league position. I don't think any. Oh, Shelley says, the funniest moment. Happy, funny moment. My brain space is all taken up by that penalty. I'm not going to lie. But I just can't think of anything else other than the penalty. I thought on the night, we'll find something that's... No, it was just crazy. I think what made me smile is the fans, the 150 fans that were there.
Yeah.
4-hour trip on a Tuesday night when you're bottom of the league on 19 points on a club record, winless away record against the 4th in the league. Just legends, every single one of you, absolute legends. I can't think of any other funny moments, guys, from the game. Anything else that stands out that made you chuckle, smile?
No, that penalty just did it all for me.
When we got the Eves goal, Yeah, I was watching at home when I scored the years ago. I picked my little girl up and threw her around a little bit, and she thought it was the best thing ever. She comes, it's the little one that doesn't watch football. She come and sat next to me. I think she was hoping we'd score again. So I did the same, but she'd gone to bed by the second and third one. Joy, anything else that made you laugh?
Well, a sort of a wry smile when their fourth goal went in.
Yeah.
If that makes it funniest moment criteria. But
I enjoyed Sean
wry
Morrison
smile.
laying on top of Victor for an unnecessary amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phil says, us scoring 3 goals that made him laugh. Powermed, this is a weekly one. Powermed Kakiyoso playing despite him not wanting to play makes him smile, I think, every week. Josh Cresswell says Keith tried giving us a penalty. Kelly for Bobs was trying to watch Parkgate live whilst watching on his iPad. Love the effort for that. Shelley says, for me, it was when Sean Morrison passed the ball upfield forward and in the 77th minute, because his nickname Sean backwards and forwards Morrison. Okay, fair enough. Same again for QPR. Remember your funny, happy moments for the QPR. We've got an hour already. We're probably going to go a bit long. We'll have a quick preview. Holly asks why Humphreys didn't start, Mick. I suspect it's a minutes management. He's come from quite a serious hamstring injury. And we were better when he came on, unsurprisingly. Him and Hacks, for Saturday, it's got to be him and Hacks, because they both can step out. Hacks has learned to step out now. Humphreys can step out. And it just gives you it essentially gives you extra man in midfield occasionally. Yeah. And it's just such a way. If you can get that right, that's such a weapon.
Yeah, 100%. 100% it'll start on Saturday. I think that's probably what was in Liam Richardson's thinking. Away at Ipswich on a cold Tuesday night is not a game that you expect to get anything out of. Not a game that you expect to win. Ipswich aren't our battle, are they? Away at QPR is a different matter altogether, and you'll be looking out, I suspect, to strengthen that team from the one that started on Tuesday night. If he could get anywhere near the level of performance for the team that finished, we should be. You might be shaving that beard up on Sunday.
Oh, please, it's time. It's time for a shave. Michael says, where is Revan? There's been no pre-match presser as far as I've seen. So I don't know. That's not great, because Kyoso was good at left wing back, Joy, but it's not because he's not a natural. He's going to cause problems. And having Revan and Blackett and Bramall injured, it's just potentially going to cause a bit of a balance issue.
Yeah, and Revan's not been playing too badly either, has he? So, and I didn't see anything pre-match either. Did he get injured in the warm-up or anything?
No.
I've not seen anything at all about his injury, about whatever it is. So it'll be interesting to see whether he is in the squad on Saturday. So he does add more balance, I think.
Yeah, they seem to. I don't know whether Liam Richards doesn't like doing pre-match press conferences, but there wasn't one pre-Ipswich. There hasn't been one yet for pre-QPR. I'm sure there will be one tomorrow. Richard asks about Ollie. Now, again, this is something we have to wait for Liam Richards to confirm. If it is ruled as concussion, there is a protocol in place. I think it varies based on the severity of your concussion. But if he is concussed, he will be out of Saturday. But obviously, Liam Richardson will confirm that tomorrow probably. If not, we'll find out Saturday, as you'd expect. Holly in the comments says, if Lindsay doesn't play, she's going to lose the marbles. James is his biggest fan there. The midfield that finished, Mick, was it the midfield that finished? Teehee, Rinomota and Klukas. I don't know if that's what finished, but that is the midfield three for me. That's got to be the midfield three for Saturday. I thought they've all give you something different, which I like. I mean, I think Teehee's gone off the boil, to be honest. Gives you something else. So for me, it's those three should be in.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, and possibly arguably Capo in there as well, which is the way that we finished. I but it's close to the team that finished that second half as possible for me. I think I keep Eves in, albeit obviously he wasn't in that finishing 11, but Eves and Nombe probably would start for me. and other than that, Sariki, I would keep.
Yeah.
I would keep him there, assuming that Seb Revan's not fit. We have to assume that, I think, because he wasn't even on the bench, was he? So,
No.
But I don't know if Revan's fit, then you have Kioso at right wing back and Revan at left. But yeah, well, it just depends on injuries. But Revan out, Sariki in for me. Swap PK over onto that left hand side.
I completely agree. I think that's the only question for me, Joy, is the two. Nombe comes for me, or Nombe comes back in. That's Nombe for Hugo. I don't think, for me, that's not up for debate. The question then becomes, why can Nombe have worked quite well together, but Eves earned another start for me. So for me, it would be, I agree with Nombe and Eves to start.
I don't have a problem with that myself either. I think either way it starts, if it's Wyke and Nombe, that Eves is going to get a run out at some point anyway during the game, I would imagine. So I think it depends on how Liam Richardson sees the game, how he wants to start the game, more to the point, how he wants to finish the game, dependent on how it pans out.
John S says, I can't believe it. I'm saying Eves in. I would have thought like 3 months ago we'd be saying Eves has got to start. We wouldn't have believed it. You wouldn't believe it, would you? In the context of the season, Mick, it's not a massive game because the season's basically done for us. But in the context of what we want to see and what we want to see potentially from Liam Richardson's teams going forward, it is a very big game. Because if we go back to the Watford performance and it's drab and boring and the Stoke performance or whatever else, that would be a real step backwards for me. I want to see a similar type performance against a team that aren't as good as Ipswich. And for me, you've got a chance. You've got a real chance of picking up 3. I'm not saying we're gonna, but we've got a real chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Get at them.
Yeah.
Get at them the way we got at Ipswich. And if you get at QPR the way we got at Ipswich, we will win that game. I'm absolutely convinced of that. You know, it's not that simple, clearly. But, you know, get that press going, maintain possession of the ball like we did against Ipswich, win those second balls, and the game is ours for the taking, because they are, like us, hugely lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
And to be fair, probably ability as well, with the exception of 1 or 2 players. So I suspect behind the scenes at QPR, the sort of hierarchy wouldn't be massively bothered about going down, because they've got their financial issues, and that would allow them to reset in League One and kick on again. So I don't think it'd be a huge problem. Clearly, they don't want to go down. I'm not suggesting that they do, but you know, we need to be getting at them. We really do. And if we can get an early goal like we did on Tuesday, then it will be a different game. It'll certainly be a different game to Tuesday night. So yeah, let's get at them. Let's get at them. Don't give them a minute on the ball, and attack them, getting the ball in the box when we've got it.
Yeah, we've got 4 more games before an international break. Another international break. QPR away, Sheffield Wednesday. 5 more games. QPR away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, Coventry away, Norwich away, and Huddersfield at home. There's points to be won in there. There's some points to be won. If you check out the scout report, we spoke to Ben from the W12 podcast. He'll tell you a bit more about QPR. I forgot we're playing QPR. But by all accounts, Joe, they are a footballing team. So Fuentes, who's come in, is a sort of, he likes the ball on the deck, and that's going to suit us, isn't it? That's going to suit us doing that, because Ipswich tried doing it, and Ipswich are a better team than QPR, and Ipswich couldn't do it against us. So if they're going to try and play out from the back, that could beautifully play into our hands.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that Tuesday's second half is not yet another false dawn. We've had a few of these this season, and I went to Watford post one of the other previous false dawns, thinking that we'd got a chance at Watford, and look what happened there. So I'm going to go and enjoy myself, and I'm going to wish and hope for 3 points, and again another good performance. I mean, they have got some skillful players. I don't know what their injury lists are at the moment because they've still got Chair, haven't they? They've got Willock, and they've got some good players, but obviously they're not able to do it consistently. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the position that they are in. But having said that, they have been picking up points, haven't they, here and there, and they're becoming more difficult to beat. So I think if Liam Richardson is going to make a mark, this is the time to do it in the follow-up to that second half to Ipswich, and hopefully we can see a Liam Richardson team, how it's going to look like in the future. That would be my hope, and I'm hoping it's positive and not negative.
Yeah, I agree, completely agree. Positive. Let's see. We all want to win, but again, it's about seeing that performance. If we lose 4-3 again in a similar kind of performance, we could all probably accept it again, because we can see there's a path moving forward. But we're all desperate for that away win, particularly me, desperate for that away win, so I can have a shave. Let's go through some predictions. Mick, 2-1?
No, I don't know. You see, I changed my prediction, didn't I? I changed my prediction for the Ipswich game. Yeah, I said 1-0. I said a dirty 1-0 Rotherham win. I couldn't have been further from truth. I only 6 goals out. So I'm sticking. I'm going for a clean sheet for Victor.
1-0.
I'm going to go for 3-0 Rotherham.
Hell,
based on the fact that we're going to continue that second half from Ipswich. That's what I'm basing it on.
Right, and if we don't, then
we're stuck. Yeah.
Joey, what do you reckon?
I'm going to sort of follow in Mick's wake here, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and say 2-1 to the Millers.
2-1. I'm going to go 2-2. Let's go for a draw. It'd be typical.
I'm hoping I'm going to continue my run of correct guessings here.
You're second in the league table, Joy.
I've already been on about 3 times, haven't I?
That's because Mick keeps picking us to win, so he's never going to get it. But it'd be typical Rotherham to have that performance and then go lose, like the early in a Watford result in the season. It would be typical Rotherham to get spanked Saturday, but hopefully not. We've got comments. We will go. YouTube says 3-1 to us. Martin Holmes says 1-0. So does Harry. John S says 3-1, but he's not sure who to. Kelly from Bob says 2-0 to the Millers, as does Richard. 2-1 says Josh. Shelley says the first away win of the season, and the season is still alive. That is very positive of you, Shelley, to say it's still alive.
Yeah.
If we beat Wednesday next week after and it goes back into single digits, then we might start believing. But that's a long way away. Prowman says 3-2 to us. Michael Carnell says 2-1, but to who though? He doesn't know either. Scott Kent says 2-1 to the Millers or 3-0 to QPR. Yeah, you could see that, Scott, to be honest with you. It's one going to be one way or the other kind of performance. Yeah. Safe travels to those of you are making the trip down to London. I'm sure more are after Tuesday's performance, which is good to see. I think we're all happy. The more the merrier. More the Millers, merrier. Don't know. I got that wrong. There's something. I'll work it out. Anything else we need to touch on, guys? Because we've gone well long tonight.
No, not for me.
Cool.
Just to say that you're all welcome to come and join the London Millers in the Crown and Sceptre on Molina Road, W12, pre-match.
I'll see you there. Martin Holland, referee. Matthew Donoghue is the referee. Never good when you recognise the name. He hasn't refereed for a little while. The famous one is that in COVID, he didn't give the handball at Swansea away, the handball on the line. He didn't give that. But I think we all sadly remember it. So thank you all for being with us. We'll leave you on that sour note. Richard says, thank you, guys. Great podcast. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all who tuned in. I know we all don't agree on the same sort of things, especially the start of the show. But thank you, everybody who has tuned in. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you all back Sunday evening to review a QPR. And then it's the derby next week. It's not a derby next Saturday. It's not a derby. Sorry. Mick, thank you for being with us tonight. It's been good fun.
You're welcome.
Good. And thank you very much, Joy. It's been a very good one. And hopefully we can get 3 more points. Well, 3 points.
Yay. Enjoyed it. See you Saturday.
See you Saturday, guys. See you, everybody. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
It's a wild through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favor, drop me off in